We continue our examination of the Islamic laws of fasting. One very common question and scenario that people ask about is fasting while sick. Am I allowed to fast while sick? What if I would like to burden myself and accept the burden and fast? Is that okay? Some people are even under the impression that if they're sick, yet they opt to fast, Allah will increase their ajr for them because they're going through greater difficulty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states very clearly in the Holy Qur'an that Allah wants yusr for us. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. Allah wants ease for us, not difficulty. We also have the Islamic law of no harm. لا ضرر ولا ضرار. In Islamic law, I am not authorized to harm my health, to endanger my health, to put my health at risk. This is not acceptable in the law of God. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who owns your bodies. We think we own our bodies, but in reality, God owns them. We're just borrowing these bodies from Allah. So we have to use this body in God's obedience. And Allah has not allowed us to impose excessive harm to this body. Therefore, in Islamic law, if you're ill and fasting negatively impacts you, fasting is dangerous for you, fasting is harmful for you, you're not allowed to fast. Or if you're not sick right now, but you know, or you have serious fears and concerns, valid fears and concerns, that if you fast, you will get sick, you will harm your health. If you know that due to a condition that you have, let's say. I'm not sick right now, but I do know if I do fast, I will get sick. In these cases where fasting harms your body, harms your health, you are not allowed to fast. And in fact, if you opt to fast, you make the extra effort to fast, your fast is invalid, you've disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to make this day up later because it did not count. Remember, we worship God the way He wants. When you fast, is it your intention to worship Allah? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, if you're ill, I don't want you to fast. Now, I know some people struggle with this because they feel guilty. I'm missing something. My faith is incomplete. Ramadan is incomplete for me if I don't fast. Allah teaches us in Islam that it's the intention that counts. If Allah knows by seeing your intention that you would like to obey His laws, and if you were healthy, you would have fasted, you've already received your ajr from Allah. You can also find other ways to compensate for not fasting. Pray more, do Qur'an more, give more charity, establish more salat rahim, good ties with your family members. There are many ways to receive ajr in the month of Ramadan, my dear brothers and sisters. Remember, you're worshipping Allah, so worship Allah the way He wants. Do not endanger yourself or your health because of fasting. Doing so is sinful, and you will not receive any credit for this fast. You would have to make it up later. So if you're ill and fasting harms you, you are not allowed to fast. The Holy Qur'an is very clear that if you're sick, you can make it up later. Now, you don't pay any kafara in this case. If you're sick, you just make it up later. There's no fidya, there's no kafara. Just make it up later. What if fasting does not harm your health when you're sick? There are types of illnesses, let's say, or medical conditions that are not affected by fasting. Let's say you have a knee condition, a back condition, some sort of heart condition that is not impacted by fasting. The doctor tells you whether you fast or not, it's not going to have any consequences on you. Yes, in this case, you can still fast, and your illness here will not prevent you from fasting. That's the second point or second scenario. The third point or scenario, what if fasting is not going to cause harm to your health, but it fatigues you. It's difficult for you to fast. Do you have to fast here? Can you break your fast? There are two scenarios here. The first scenario is if you fast, you do get tired. There is some normal level of fatigue, but you're healthy. You have to fast. Now, some people say, yes, but I'm going to be a little bit low on energy. Maybe I'll be a little bit lethargic. It's difficult. I'll have to taste hunger. Yes, that's the point of fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you an opportunity to build yourself, to strengthen your willpower, to strengthen your soul over your body. Obviously, there is an accepted level of discomfort with the fast. When you don't drink or eat anything for 15, 16, 17 hours, obviously that will bring you some discomfort. But this is not an excuse to break your fast. Maybe those who are younger, they just became religiously mature, teenagers, right? It could be a little bit difficult for you to fast, no problem. You still have to fast. And remember that Allah will help you and reward you. One thing that you can do here is to adjust your schedule. My dear brothers and sisters, fasting is wajib, it's an obligation. Maybe some of your activities are not mandatory. You can adjust them. Adjust your activities, reduce the physical intensity of your activities in the month of Ramadan. Maybe reduce outdoor activities under the sun in the summer if it's hot outside. Try sleeping more during the day. Make changes. And I'm sure that there are many situations in our work or business environment that do allow us to make some changes. Talk to your boss, talk to your manager, let them know the month of Ramadan is coming. Can you change the hours of work? For instance, can you come later? For instance, or can you work less hours in the month of Ramadan and then compensate for that outside the month of Ramadan? The point is, you have to try to make some adjustments to your schedule to make the fasting less difficult for you. But in the end, you still have to fast. It's not an excuse not to fast, my dear brothers and sisters. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is if the difficulty becomes unbearable. I mean, you could still fast, but you will put yourself in huge difficulty. It's a huge inconvenience. It will cause a migraine for you that's severe. You're going to be on low energy to the point where it's a big burden dragging yourself all day. So whenever the difficulty becomes more than the average, it's kind of unbearable, then yes, in that case you are allowed to break your fast. You can break your fast and then make it up some other time during the year when the days are shorter. For instance, during the winter months. So you do have that option if it becomes unbearable. Or let's say you have a job, that's the only job you can get, you cannot secure another job, and it imposes very tough working hours on you. You've tried to speak to them to make arrangements, no one's budging. Okay, in that case you have no choice. Start the fast during the day, but whenever it gets to the point where you feel you cannot continue, you can break your fast. One last point here about the elderly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Holy Qur'an, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. Those people who are elderly. Now the hadith says, الشيخ والشيخة. The elderly is not defined by a particular age. It's not like you have to be over 65 to be a senior citizen, right? This is something that society considers old people. People who are old, who become weak, right, due to old age, they don't have to fast. If it, causes them discomfort, if they go low on energy, they have the option of breaking their fast. Now, if they keep fasting, they're not going to harm their health, but they don't have to accept this extra burden. Allah has made an exception for them. So they break their fast, and then for each day that they break their fast, they pay what is called a fidya. Fidyatun ta'amu miskin. Fidya is to feed one poor person. Now the hadith mentions what's equivalent to 750 grams of food. 750 grams of wheat, barley, rice, dates, whatever it is. That's about $2 to $3 on average, depending on where you live. So per day, they have to pay that amount to the poor. Now, if the elderly don't experience any fatigue, extra fatigue like that, there are some people, they may be old, but mashallah, they're very fit. Fasting does not harm them in any way. In fact, it could be healthy for them, and it does not fatigue them. They're perfectly healthy. They can handle fasting like a 20-year-old. In that case, obviously, they're not allowed to break their fast, and they should continue fasting if it does not affect them in any way. But if they experience any difficulty, any burden, then they are allowed to break their fast. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.